Ladies and gentlemen, my dear friends, today I want to share a powerful truth that can change your life, your relationships, and your journey of success. The title of this talk is, When You Stop Talking, You Start Winning. In life, we all want to be heard. We all want to be right. We want to prove our point, defend our ego, and make sure others understand us. But sometimes, in the process of talking too much, we forget to listen. And that is where many battles are lost. Battles of peace, happiness, and self-growth. Silence is often misunderstood as a sign of weakness, shyness, or lack of confidence. But in reality, silence is one of the greatest strengths a person can cultivate. When a person remains silent at the right time, it reflects maturity, emotional intelligence, and a deep understanding of themselves and others. Silence shows that you have the ability to control your impulses instead of letting situations or emotions control you. It shows that you value peace over ego and clarity over chaos. Silence is not about being quiet all the time. It is about knowing when to speak and when to pause. It is a powerful tool that, when used wisely, can elevate your personality, your decisions, and your relationships. In moments of anger or conflict, silence becomes even more powerful. When someone speaks harshly, it is easy to react instantly and speak back with equal intensity. But reacting immediately often leads to regret. Words spoken in anger may be sharp, hurtful, and irreversible. Silence gives us a space to breathe, to think, and to respond wisely rather than impulsively. It prevents small issues from becoming big arguments and protects relationships from emotional damage. People who can stay calm and silent during conflict show that they are not controlled by their anger. Instead, they control their response. This type of silence carries dignity and strength. Silence also enhances one's ability to observe and understand the world more deeply. When you talk too much, your mind is focused outward. But when you remain silent, your awareness shifts inward. You begin to notice details, emotions, intentions, and patterns that would otherwise go unnoticed. You learn to read situations better, understand people better, and understand yourself better. Silence sharpens your intuition. It opens the door to wisdom. Many of the greatest thinkers, leaders, and spiritual guides throughout history spent time in silence because silence allows the mind to settle. A calm mind can think clearly, make wiser decisions, and stay stable under pressure. Silence is also a form of discipline. It takes strength to hold back words, especially when you know you could win an argument, prove someone wrong, or show your knowledge. But not every situation deserves your voice. Sometimes silence is the most elegant response. It protects your energy. It keeps your inner peace undisturbed. It shows that you don't need validation from others and that your confidence comes from within. A person who is secure and self-aware does not feel the need to constantly speak to prove anything. Their presence, behavior, and calmness speak louder than words. Furthermore, silence helps build meaningful relationships. When you listen more than you speak, people feel valued and understood. They open up more, trust more, and connect more deeply. Listening is a form of respect, and silence makes room for that respect to grow. It demonstrates humility, the willingness to learn, to understand, and to see beyond your own perspective. People are naturally drawn to those who listen because they feel seen and heard. Silence, therefore, becomes a bridge between hearts and minds. In personal growth, silence plays an essential role. It gives space for reflection. It allows you to learn from your experiences and understand your emotions. In silence, you confront your thoughts, your fears, and your dreams. You grow stronger inside, and that inner strength becomes visible in your actions, your presence, and your confidence. Silence is not empty. It is full of answers. It is not passive, it is deeply active. And once you understand its value, you begin to carry yourself differently. Not louder, but stronger. Listening is a powerful skill that many people underestimate. While speaking allows us to express our ideas, listening allows us to understand the ideas of others. However, most people do not truly listen. They hear words, but they are already preparing their response, defending their ego, or waiting for their turn to talk. When you listen only to react, you miss the deeper meaning, the emotion, and the message behind the words. But when you listen to understand, everything changes. Your relationships become stronger, your mind becomes wiser, and your communication becomes more impactful. Listening to understand requires patience and presence. It means being fully in the moment, not distracted by your thoughts, assumptions, or judgments. It means receiving the other person's words with an open mind and open heart. When someone speaks, they are not just sharing information, they are sharing their feelings, beliefs, fears, and experiences. If we are too busy forming our reply, we lose the chance to connect with them on a human level. Listening deeply tells the other person, you matter, your thoughts matter, your feelings matter. And this simple validation can build trust stronger than any spoken words. Many conflicts happen not because people disagree, but because they do not feel heard. When someone feels misunderstood, they raise their voice, defend themselves, or withdraw emotionally. But when someone feels heard, even if there is disagreement, the situation remains calm and respectful. Listening softens anger. It eases tension. It creates space for clarity and peaceful communication. When you truly listen, you allow the conversation to move from argument to understanding, from ego to empathy. Listening also expands your knowledge. Every person you meet knows something you don't about life, work, relationships, challenges, or perspectives. When you speak, you repeat what you already know. But when you listen, you learn something new. Knowledge comes not only from books, but from people, from their stories, failures, successes, and experiences. Listening transforms your mind from limited to limitless. It strengthens your ability to analyze, reflect, and make wiser decisions. The more you listen, the more intelligent and emotionally grounded you become. Listening requires you to set your ego aside. Ego wants to prove you are right. Ego wants to win. Ego wants to dominate the conversation. But wisdom reminds you that understanding is more valuable than being right. When you listen without ego, you speak with more clarity and compassion. Your words carry more meaning and more power because they come from understanding, not reaction. People naturally respect those who listen because they feel the presence of maturity and depth in them. Listening also plays a crucial role in leadership. The best leaders are not those who speak the loudest, but those who listen the deepest. They listen to their team, their environment, their challenges, and their own intuition. They do not rush decisions, they observe, understand, and then act. A leader who listens creates a culture of trust and unity. They make people feel valued, which increases loyalty, motivation, and cooperation. In personal relationships, listening can transform the way you connect with others. Sometimes people don't need advice, they just need someone who will listen without judging, correcting, or interrupting. Being a good listener is one of the greatest gifts you can offer. It makes others feel safe around you, safe to share, express, and simply be themselves. And when people feel safe with you, relationships become deeper, stronger, and more meaningful. Listening to understand is a skill, a choice, and a sign of emotional maturity. It allows you to respond wisely instead of reacting quickly. It allows you to connect rather than compete. And it allows you to grow in wisdom, patience, and empathy. It is not the loudest voice that is the strongest. It is the quiet ear that listens with intention, understanding, and compassion. Words are powerful. They have the ability to inspire, heal, motivate, and uplift. But they also have the power to hurt, destroy, and break trust. The words we choose to speak shape the way others see us. the relationships we build, and the atmosphere we create around ourselves. To control your words is to control the direction of your life, because your words reflect your thoughts, your character, and your emotional discipline. Many people underestimate the influence of a single sentence. A careless comment can damage a friendship. A harsh response spoken in anger can leave lifelong emotional scars. And a thoughtless statement said in a moment of frustration can destroy opportunities that took years to build. Once words are spoken, they cannot be taken back. They can only be forgiven, but never erased. That is why controlling your speech is not just about being polite, it is about being wise. When you learn to pause before you speak, you gain the power to choose your response instead of letting emotions dictate your actions. This pause is small, but it is powerful. In that brief moment, you can ask yourself, is what I'm about to say necessary? Is it helpful? Is it kind? Is it true? If the answer is no, silence is the stronger choice. Emotional maturity is measured by how well we manage our reactions, especially when emotions are intense. In conversations, especially heated ones, people often speak to defend their ego rather than solve the problem. Ego-driven speech leads to arguments, misunderstandings, and resentment. But when your words are guided by calmness and intention, you communicate with clarity and respect. You may still disagree with someone, but your disagreement remains constructive, not destructive. The goal shifts from proving yourself right to understanding the situation better. This kind of communication strengthens rather than damages relationships. Your words also influence how others perceive you. A person who speaks thoughtfully earns respect. People listen more carefully to someone whose words carry meaning and weight. On the other hand, someone who talks impulsively loses credibility quickly. When you speak only when necessary, people notice and value your voice. Silence paired with carefully chosen words reflects confidence and inner strength. The way you speak to yourself is equally important. Your internal dialogue shapes your mindset and emotional state. If you constantly speak negatively to yourself, telling yourself you are not enough, not capable, or not worthy, your actions will follow that belief. But if you encourage yourself with supportive and empowering words, your mind becomes stronger, your motivation increases, and your confidence grows. Controlling your words means controlling the story you tell yourself about who you are. Words also have the power to influence your environment. A single uplifting compliment can brighten someone's entire day. A calm tone can ease tension in a difficult situation. A sincere apology can heal emotional wounds. When you choose your words with awareness, you become a source of peace, encouragement, and understanding for others. Self-control in speech does not come immediately. It requires practice and awareness. It requires observing your triggers, recognizing when emotions are rising, and training yourself to respond rather than react. It means understanding that silence does not mean defeat. It means dignity. It means valuing peace over pride and growth over temporary satisfaction. When you control what you say, you take charge of your emotional world. You choose maturity over impulse, understanding over reaction, and wisdom over ego. Your words become tools that build rather than weapons that harm. And in doing so, you begin to create a life rooted in clarity, respect, calmness, and meaningful connection. Not every argument deserves your time, your energy, or your voice. Many people believe that responding to every criticism, every comment, or every disagreement is necessary to protect their pride or prove their intelligence. However, constantly defending yourself or trying to win every debate often leads to more stress, conflict, and emotional exhaustion. Understanding when to speak and when to remain silent is a sign of maturity and self-awareness. A wise person knows that peace is more valuable than proving a point. Arguments are often fueled not by truth, but by ego. When two egos collide, the goal shifts from understanding to winning. The focus is no longer on the issue. It becomes about personal superiority. In such moments, even logical reasoning loses clarity because the mind is busy forming counterattacks rather than seeking resolution. Walking away from these kinds of arguments does not mean you are weak or afraid. It means you refuse to let your mind become a battlefield for unnecessary conflict. Your mental peace is more important than temporary satisfaction. There are situations where people misunderstand you intentionally or have already decided not to agree with you. Speaking more in such cases only strengthens the misunderstanding. The more you try to explain, the more the other person resists. This is because their goal isn't to understand. They simply want to win. When you recognize this dynamic, silence becomes your smartest response. Letting go of the need to convince others frees you from the emotional burden of constantly proving yourself. In addition, not every opinion about you deserves your attention. People will always talk. Some will criticize, some will question your choices, and some will try to bring you down simply because they are struggling with their own insecurities. If you try to respond to every voice, you will lose focus on your path. Your time and energy are precious. Spending them on arguments steals them from your growth, your goals, and your peace. Walking away from unnecessary debate is an act of self-protection and self-respect. Choosing silence in conflict can also prevent long-lasting damage. Words spoken in anger often create wounds that apologies cannot fully heal. When emotions are high, even small disagreements can escalate into serious conflicts. By staying silent in heated moments, you create space for emotions to settle. When the environment becomes calmer, conversations become meaningful instead of destructive. Silence, therefore, is not avoidance. It is strategy. There is also great dignity in selective speech. People who speak less in arguments are often perceived as thoughtful, composed, and wise. Their silence shows that they are not controlled by the situation, but are in control of themselves. People come to respect those who maintain their calm, because calmness is rare. Storms are common, stillness is powerful. Furthermore, walking away from unnecessary arguments does not mean suppressing your voice. It means choosing the right moment to express it. Sometimes, waiting until the right time allows your thoughts to be heard more clearly and respectfully. When your mind is calm, your words become sharper, clearer, and more influential. Silence gives you strength to respond, not react. Life becomes simpler when you stop trying to prove something to everyone. You don't need to win every argument to validate your worth. Your actions, your character, and your consistency speak louder than any debate. Let your growth be your response. Let your success be your answer. Let your peace be your victory. When you stop engaging in unnecessary arguments, you protect your energy, your clarity, and your emotional balance. You begin to rise above situations rather than getting entangled in them. You choose wisdom over ego, peace over pride, and purpose over noise. And that choice itself is a powerful victory. Patience is a form of strength that is often underestimated. In a world that encourages instant results, instant responses, and instant gratification, patience has become rare. Yet, it is one of the most powerful qualities that determine long-term success, emotional stability, and personal growth. When you are patient, you are not simply waiting, you are observing, understanding, and preparing. Patience allows you to think before you act, reflect before you speak, and choose wisely rather than impulsively. It is the foundation upon which strong decisions, meaningful relationships, and lasting achievements are built. In moments of frustration or difficulty, patience keeps your mind steady. When challenges arise, the natural reaction is to rush, panic, or respond emotionally. But reacting from impatience often leads to mistakes or regrets. Patience, however, creates space between the circumstance and your response. It gives you time to analyze the situation logically instead of emotionally. It allows you to find clarity where others find chaos. This calmness becomes your strength, allowing you to handle challenges with confidence and wisdom. The ability to remain composed during difficult situations is not a sign of disengagement. It is a sign of mastery over your inner world. Patience also plays a crucial role in relationships. Many misunderstandings arise when people react too quickly to words or situations. When emotions are high, even small issues can escalate into conflict. Patience teaches you to listen, to empathize, and to understand before assuming or reacting. It helps you respond thoughtfully instead of defensively. Relationships built on patience become stronger, healthier, and more meaningful because patience reflects care, respect, and willingness to understand rather than just react. When people feel understood, they feel valued, and that sense of value deepens connection. Furthermore, patience is essential in achieving any long-term goal. Success does not happen overnight. Growth takes time. Skills need to be developed, habits need to be refined, and experiences need to be gained. Those who expect instant results often give up too quickly. But those who are patient continue to work even when progress is slow, even when circumstances are difficult, and even when others doubt them. Their patience fuels their persistence, and persistence leads to success. When you trust the process and remain patient with your efforts, you create a path that is steady and strong. Patience is also deeply connected to self-control. It requires you to manage your thoughts, emotions, and impulses. When you are patient, you do not let external situations dictate your internal state. You do not rush decisions out of pressure or fear. You make choices based on clarity, not urgency. This self-control reflects strength of character. A person who has patience shows that they are not driven by external chaos, but by internal stability. And internal stability is one of the greatest forms of confidence. Even in silence, patience is powerful. Sometimes the best action is to wait, not because you are passive, but because you understand that forcing something before its time can damage its growth. Just like a seed needs time to become a tree, dreams need time to become reality. Patience allows you to nurture your goals with consistency instead of rushing toward outcomes. It helps you appreciate the journey rather than fixating only on the destination. Patience also leads to wisdom. The more patient you are, the more observant you become. You begin to notice patterns, intentions, and opportunities that others overlook. You learn from experiences rather than rushing past them. Over time, this understanding shapes your thinking, deepens your insight, and elevates your decision-making ability. Patience transforms challenges into lessons and waiting into preparation. The strength of patience lies not just in waiting, but in how you wait, calmly, thoughtfully, and with trust. It shows your belief in yourself, your path, and your purpose. When you practice patience, you begin to rise above frustration and uncertainty. You gain resilience, clarity, and emotional power. And that quiet strength becomes one of your greatest tools for navigating life with wisdom and confidence. Silence, when embraced intentionally, becomes a powerful tool for personal growth and inner transformation. In a world filled with constant noise, conversations, opinions, notifications, and endless streams of information, silence offers space for clarity. When you talk less, you begin to notice more. You start hearing the thoughts you often ignore, the emotions you suppress, and the opportunities that usually pass unnoticed. Growth does not happen in moments of rush and chaos. It happens in stillness, when the mind is calm enough to reflect, observe, and understand. When you are silent, your awareness deepens. You begin to understand your own reactions, strengths, weaknesses, and thought patterns. Silence gives you a chance to evaluate your decisions, your habits, and your relationships. It helps you ask important questions. Am I living according to my values? Am I giving my time to the right things? Am I speaking to express truth or simply to fill the silence? These reflections help refine your character and align your life with purpose. Without silence, people often move through life unconsciously, repeating patterns without understanding them. Silence breaks that cycle. Silence also strengthens your intuition. When the mind is constantly busy, your inner voice becomes drowned out by external noise and internal distractions. But in silence, you reconnect with that voice. Intuition is not loud. It speaks gently, through calm thoughts and subtle feelings. The more you listen, the stronger it becomes. Many successful leaders, thinkers, and artists describe their greatest insights emerging during quiet moments, not during conversations or arguments, but during silence. Silence allows your inner wisdom to rise to the surface. Beyond self-awareness, silence improves how you connect with others. When you speak less, you listen more. You observe body language, tone, intention, and emotions. You begin to understand what people truly mean, not just what they say. This depth of understanding strengthens relationships because it reflects empathy, respect, and care. People feel emotionally safe with those who listen sincerely. Silence becomes a bridge that allows trust to grow because it shows that you value presence over performance. In everyday situations, silence cultivates discipline. There are many moments when reacting immediately feels natural, especially when emotions are high. But silence teaches you to pause. The pause creates space to think clearly rather than acting out of impulse or frustration. This ability to pause is one of the most powerful emotional skills a person can have. It prevents misunderstandings, regrets, and unnecessary conflicts. It allows your actions and words to be guided by reason rather than emotion. Silence also strengthens resilience. When you become comfortable with silence, you become comfortable with yourself. Many people avoid silence because it forces them to face their thoughts and feelings. Yet, facing them is the first step to overcoming them. Silence teaches you to sit with discomfort, to understand it, and ultimately to rise above it. You learn that peace is not found in the absence of noise, but in the ability to remain centered even when life is loud. Moreover, silence encourages patience. In silence, you learn to wait without anxiety, to move with intention rather than rush. Patience nurtures deeper achievement because growth takes time. Skills develop through practice, goals are reached through persistence, and wisdom is gained through experience. Silence supports this process by helping you stay steady, focused, and grounded. As you talk less and observe more, the world reveals itself in new ways. You begin to see lessons in everyday moments, meaning in simple experiences and beauty in small details. You realize that growth does not require constant movement. It requires mindful awareness. Silence becomes a teacher, quiet, steady, and profoundly transformative. It shapes your character, strengthens your mind, and guides you toward a wiser, calmer, and more powerful version of yourself. So my friends, remember this: when you stop talking, you start listening. When you start listening, you start understanding. And when you start understanding, you start winning. Thank you so much.